You think you understand betrayal. You think you know what it means to be stabbed in the back by those you trust. Listen carefully, for I, Niccolò Machiavelli, have witnessed empires crumble and princes fall, not to foreign armies, but to the whispered lies of their closest advisors. In this treacherous theater we call life, every handshake conceals a dagger, every smile masks ambition, and every friend is a potential enemy waiting for the perfect moment to strike. But what if I told you that the very wolves who would devour you could become your most valuable teachers? What if the dark arts of deception could become your shield and the cold logic of power your sword? Machiavelli once said, "Men are deceitful by nature," a sentence so simple, yet it carries centuries of truth about human behavior. In every kingdom, in every organization, and in every group of people, there will always be those who smile with loyalty, while quietly calculating how to benefit from your fall. When you rise to power, people begin to orbit around you. Some come to serve, others come to study your weaknesses. A Machiavellian leader understands this difference and never assumes that admiration equals allegiance. The moment you hold authority, you are no longer surrounded by friends. You are surrounded by interests. A powerful man must build trust not like a bridge, quickly and openly, but like a fortress, stone by stone, carefully guarded. Because once you let the wrong person inside your walls, they will not attack from outside. They will betray you from within. And betrayal from within is far more destructive than any open war. Imagine this: a man in your circle praises every decision you make. He never argues, never disagrees, never shows his own opinions. You think he is loyal. But Machiavelli would warn you. That man is dangerous. He is studying you. He mirrors your ideas to gain your trust, to learn how you think, and one day he will use your own logic against you. That's how political courtiers destroyed kings, and how corporate traitors destroy their leaders today. The first rule in leading among backstabbers is to trust slowly, painfully slowly. Your patience will save your crown. Every new ally must be tested with time, not emotion. Let them reveal who they are when they think you're not watching. Give them small responsibilities and observe how they behave when no reward is promised. The deceitful will grow careless when they believe your attention has shifted elsewhere. That's when their true intentions crawl out. In The Prince, Machiavelli advised rulers to be both a lion and a fox, strong enough to scare wolves and clever enough to catch them. The fox part begins here. You don't expose betrayal by confronting it directly. You expose it by observing it quietly. The fox doesn't roar when it sees danger. It listens, it watches, it waits. In leadership, your silence will become your most powerful weapon, because people reveal themselves most when they think you are not paying attention. Watch how they react when you face failure. Notice who distances themselves when your power weakens, and who steps closer when you are surrounded by enemies. These moments are mirrors of human nature. They show you who would stand beside you in war, and who would sell you for safety. But don't misunderstand. Machiavelli never suggested paranoia for its own sake. He taught strategic awareness. The goal is not to distrust everyone out of fear, but to trust selectively out of intelligence. He knew that blind trust is the enemy of longevity. Once a ruler begins to believe that all men are loyal, his downfall is already written. You must also understand that betrayal does not always come in the form of rebellion. Sometimes it comes in silence, in the words people choose not to say, the advice they withhold, the secrets they share with others. Some betray you to your enemies. Others betray you to their ambition. Both are equally lethal. So the wise leader cultivates a habit of seeing beyond appearances. Every smile must be read like a riddle. Every act of kindness must be weighed for motive. People follow power, not principle. And when your power shifts, their loyalty will too. That is not pessimism, that is politics. Trust, then, becomes a weapon of timing. Give it too soon and it will cut you. Hold it too long and you will stand alone. The art lies in balance, in giving people enough faith to feel included, but never enough access to harm you. Let them taste your approval, but not drink from your confidence, even when you find someone who seems loyal beyond question. Test them with both temptation and difficulty. Offer them a chance to betray you in secret. Watch if they take it. A man who resists when no one is watching is far rarer than one who speaks of loyalty in public. Machiavelli believed that most men will stay loyal only until it costs them something. When loyalty and profit collide, the latter almost always wins. Leadership, therefore, is not about surrounding yourself with people you like. It's about surrounding yourself with people you understand. You cannot stop deceit, but you can predict it. You cannot eliminate betrayal, but you can limit its reach. Trust slowly. Watch everyone. And remember, those who flatter you the loudest are often the ones holding the sharpest blades. Niccolò Machiavelli believed that the greatest mistake a leader can make is to show his true nature to the world. Power, he said, is not sustained by honesty. It is sustained by perception. The people you lead, the rivals who watch you, the allies who claim to stand beside you, all of them react not to who you truly are, but to the image you allow them to see. That image must be crafted, calculated, and controlled like a weapon. When Machiavelli wrote, "A prince must learn how not to be good," he wasn't promoting cruelty. He was revealing a survival strategy. To lead among backstabbers, you must wear a mask. You must learn to smile while planning, to praise while observing, and to appear soft while remaining unbreakable inside. The mask protects you, not from enemies alone, but from the dangers of transparency. Because once the world sees the full map of your emotions, your fears, and your desires, they will know exactly how to destroy you. The truth is, people are predictable in their reactions and unpredictable in their loyalties. They respect mystery more than they respect sincerity. Show them too much of yourself, and they will stop fearing you. Show them nothing, and they will spend their lives trying to understand you. And that confusion gives you power. A Machiavellian leader is not heartless, but he knows how to act. He knows that leadership is theater. Every gesture, every silence, every word is a performance meant to shape perception. The court of power, whether it is a royal hall or a modern boardroom, is a stage where weakness must never be visible. You must let people believe what you need them to believe. If they think you are merciful, use that image when you must be ruthless. If they think you are ruthless, use that fear to prevent rebellion. Control perception, and you control the game. Imagine two leaders. One shows every emotion, speaks every thought, and believes honesty alone will earn respect. The other speaks rarely, conceals his intentions, and lets silence do his work. The first may gain sympathy, but sympathy fades. The second gains intrigue, and intrigue never dies. People follow what they cannot fully understand. They obey what they cannot easily read. Machiavelli's wisdom lies here. The less predictable you are, the more powerful you become. The mask is not deception for its own sake. It is protection for the truth that must remain hidden. When people think they know you, they begin to play against you. When they cannot define you, they hesitate. And hesitation in your opponents is victory. But wearing the mask requires discipline. Most people reveal too much because they crave validation. They want to be liked, understood, accepted. A Machiavellian mind abandons that need. He no longer seeks to be liked. He seeks to be effective. The warmth of approval is temporary. The strength of control is permanent. Your tone, your expression, your composure, these must always serve your strategy. Never react instantly to anything. Instant reactions expose real feelings. When someone insults you, smile. When someone flatters you, stay silent. Let them wonder what you're thinking. The greatest fear in a manipulator's mind is not anger. It's uncertainty. When they cannot read your next move, they cannot plot against you effectively. Machiavelli understood that appearances are a form of currency in politics. A leader who appears moral gains legitimacy. A leader who appears confident gains obedience. It doesn't matter if the morality is a performance or the confidence is rehearsed. What matters is that it works. The world rewards illusion because illusion comforts the weak and empowers the wise. Even mercy is a mask. Sometimes, the greatest act of control is to show kindness. Not because you feel it, but because it disarms those who doubt you. Kindness can be a leash that keeps others calm while you position yourself for dominance. Machiavelli would remind you that being seen as good is more powerful than being good. The mask of virtue is more durable than virtue itself. This philosophy is not cynicism, it's strategy. When you live among backstabbers, you must become unreadable. You must master the art of revealing only what strengthens your image and concealing everything that weakens your authority. The people must see your mercy, but never your fear. They must feel your warmth, but never your doubt. The moment they sense uncertainty, they will test it. The moment they find your weakness, they will exploit it. A true Machiavellian leader is not emotionless. He simply never allows emotion to rule his decisions. His face remains composed even when chaos surrounds him. His words remain calm even when betrayal burns within him. To others, he appears unshakable. And that illusion becomes truth because perception shapes reality. If they believe you are untouchable, you eventually become untouchable. Power, then, is built not on honesty of feeling, but on mastery of appearance. The mask does not hide your power, it creates it. In the eyes of Machiavelli, mercy without calculation is weakness disguised as virtue. He understood something most people still refuse to accept, that the world does not reward hesitation. It rewards those who move first, those who recognize danger not when it attacks, but when it begins to whisper. It is much safer to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both, he wrote, not because he despised love, but because he knew fear prevents betrayal while love invites it. In a world of backstabbers, waiting to be attacked is an invitation to ruin. Betrayal rarely arrives as a sudden storm. It begins as a drizzle, small acts, subtle tones, quiet defiance. The Machiavellian leader does not wait for lightning. He reads the clouds. He senses the air changing. He feels the invisible tension before the blow is ever struck. And when that tension appears, he acts, swiftly, decisively. Without hesitation, you see, power is not maintained by reacting. It is maintained by anticipating. The lion does not wait for the jackal to bite. It crushes it before it grows bold enough to try. This is not cruelty, it is preservation. Machiavelli understood that mercy in the wrong moment feeds disloyalty, and hesitation emboldens your enemies. Those who fear to act lose not only power, they lose respect. A backstabber does not attack when you are strong. They attack when you appear distracted, compassionate, or forgiving. The moment you show mercy to those who plot against you, they take it as weakness, not wisdom. Machiavelli warned that to allow one traitor to survive is to invite 1,000 more. Therefore, the wise leader learns to recognize betrayal in its infancy, in the tone of a word, in the delay of obedience, in the faint echo of envy behind false praise. These are not small things, they are signals. When such signals appear, you must not confront them emotionally. Do not rage, do not argue. Rage exposes fear, argument exposes doubt. Instead, act in silence, strike without announcement. Remove the threat so quietly that others only realize your power when it's too late to challenge it. That is the Machiavellian way, victory without noise. But here is where most leaders fail. They believe acting first will make them look heartless. They cling to the illusion that kindness wins loyalty. Yet Machiavelli saw the truth. Loyalty built on fear of consequence lasts longer than loyalty built on affection, because affection fades the moment people see a better advantage elsewhere. Fear, on the other hand, anchors them. It reminds them that betrayal has a price. In leadership, to strike first does not always mean violence or cruelty. Sometimes it means cutting off influence, removing access, or isolating manipulation before it spreads. A wise ruler eliminates not only enemies but also the opportunity for enemies to form. The key is not aggression, it's timing. You must learn to strike before your rivals realize the game has begun. Think of the chessboard. The most dangerous player is not the one who reacts. It's the one who predicts your next 3 moves and eliminates your options before you can move at all. That's how power works in the real world. When you sense that someone is building a coalition against you, do not wait for proof. Undermine it quietly. Turn their allies into informants. Offer rewards for their silence. Create doubt among them. Let them destroy each other while you appear uninvolved. That is how Machiavellian control operates, invisible yet absolute. And remember, this truth: people forgive arrogance faster than they forgive weakness. When you act ruthlessly but efficiently, they may call you harsh, yet they will obey you. But if you show hesitation, if you allow disloyalty to grow, they will test your limits again and again until your authority collapses. Fear may earn you enemies, but hesitation earns you extinction. Machiavelli saw human nature for what it is: selfish, ambitious, and opportunistic. He did not hate humanity for it, he simply prepared for it. He knew that betrayal is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. And so, his answer was simple: act before the knife reaches your back. Remove the hand that holds it, and do it so cleanly that no one dares to raise another. To rule among those who plot in silence, you must become silence itself, the kind that moves unseen, the kind that acts without warning. To strike before you are struck is not an act of malice. It is the art of survival. It is how a ruler endures when all others fall to the mercy of those they were too kind to destroy. Machiavelli understood a truth that few leaders ever grasp. Control is not achieved by uniting everyone. It's achieved by dividing them. In The Prince, he revealed that the ruler who allows his subjects, advisors, or generals to grow too close to one another eventually loses power over all of them, because unity among your followers, when left unchecked, transforms into conspiracy. Division, on the other hand, keeps you at the center of their dependence. A wise leader never allows his power to be shared. He ensures that no 2 powerful men can trust each other completely, that every friendship within his circle contains a seed of rivalry. This is not cruelty. This is protection. When everyone competes for your approval, no one conspires against you. That is the silent genius of Machiavellian rule. He saw that men, by nature, are driven by envy. They compete for recognition, for favor, for position. The leader who understands this doesn't fight envy, he uses it. He allows small rivalries to exist, controlled conflicts that keep people busy defending their pride instead of challenging his throne. In every court, in every empire, and even in every modern workplace, this principle remains the same. If they are busy watching each other, they are not watching you. But here's the mistake most leaders make. They try to make everyone love each other, to create harmony and collective unity. It sounds noble, but in the real world, harmony breeds alliances, and alliances eventually turn against authority. The people united by love can be swayed by emotion. The people divided by competition can only be swayed by advantage. Machiavelli would say, control their interests, and you control their loyalty. The art of dividing is subtle. It does not mean chaos. It means calculated imbalance. Just enough friction that your followers depend on your presence to keep peace. You become the mediator, the balance, the indispensable figure who holds everything together. Without you, the structure collapses. And that realization ensures your survival. When Machiavelli advised princes to keep subjects either well treated or crushed, he wasn't speaking only of punishment. He was describing control through clarity. People must always know that power flows from one center, you. Let them compete for it. Let them seek your favor. But never allow them to build a second center of loyalty. A leader surrounded by equals is a leader surrounded by threats. Consider the genius of ancient rulers and modern politicians alike. They understand how to praise both sides in conflict, how to promise each faction a piece of what they want, and how to keep both dependent on their judgment. When your rivals seek your opinion before acting, you have already conquered them mentally. You've placed yourself as the silent authority over their decisions, even when they think they are acting freely. That is Machiavellian mastery, control without force, influence without exposure. In leadership, dividing people is not about destroying relationships, it's about balancing ambitions. The goal is not to make them hate each other, but to make them cautious of each other. When everyone fears being outmaneuvered, no one dares to plot openly. The court becomes self-policing. Betrayal becomes harder because no one knows whom to trust. You, the leader, become the only stable point in their world of uncertainty. This strategy also protects you from emotional manipulation. When your subordinates or colleagues know they must compete for your attention, their loyalty becomes strategic, not sentimental. They do not follow you because they love you. They follow you because they need you. That need is far more reliable than love. Love fades when fortunes change. Need endures as long as power remains in your hands. But remember, Machiavelli never promoted chaos for its own sake. Disorder weakens power. Controlled division strengthens it. A wise ruler plays both sides carefully. You feed each faction just enough attention to keep them loyal to you, but never enough to let them grow beyond your reach. You reward one side today, the other tomorrow. You promise balance, but secretly ensure dependence. In this way, everyone believes you are fair, while you quietly remain untouchable. Even in the modern world, this law of division governs leadership. Corporations, governments, and institutions all operate on it. The CEO who allows his top advisors to compete becomes the one they all need to please. The politician who plays rival groups against each other becomes the only voice they trust to mediate. It's not malice, it's structure. Control built through contrast. The greatest danger to any ruler is a united opposition. The greatest advantage is a fragmented one. When you divide ambitions, you divide threats. Machiavelli saw unity as a mask for rebellion and division as the safeguard of authority. Let others chase harmony and friendship. A ruler's task is to maintain power, and power belongs not to those who are loved equally by all, but to those whom everyone quietly fears to lose. Machiavelli warned every ruler of a dangerous illusion, the belief that loyalty is eternal. He wrote that men are loyal only when it costs them nothing. The moment loyalty demands sacrifice, most will trade it for safety, for comfort, or for opportunity. This truth offends the idealist but empowers the realist. And Machiavelli was the ultimate realist. He understood that loyalty is a performance, a convenient alliance held together not by emotion, but by benefit. People serve you only as long as serving you serves them. When your power rises, their admiration grows with it. But the moment your influence declines, their loyalty will vanish like mist at sunrise. That is the nature of mankind, and a wise leader accepts it without bitterness. You must never depend on loyalty, you must depend on leverage. Power must not rest on the promises of others, but on the systems you control. Machiavelli observed that the greatest mistake of fallen rulers was trusting hearts instead of holding reins. When people obey you because they fear losing something valuable, their loyalty lasts longer than when they obey you out of affection. Love is emotional. Fear is logical. Emotion fades. Logic endures. The Machiavellian leader builds relationships not on affection, but on necessity. He makes himself indispensable, the one whose presence secures their position, whose favor feeds their ambitions, whose downfall would drag them down too. That is not manipulation, it is strategy. When people realize that betraying you means losing their own safety, their loyalty becomes self-preservation. And self-preservation is the most reliable instinct of all. But how does one create such power? By understanding what others desire and by becoming the gatekeeper of that desire. Some crave wealth, others recognition, others protection. A wise ruler learns what each person values most and positions himself as the source of it. When you control the reward, you control the loyalty. You don't need to demand it. They offer it out of fear of losing your favor. Machiavelli would say that a leader who feeds his people's needs owns their obedience more securely than one who feeds their hearts. Loyalty built on sentiment is fragile. Today's admirer becomes tomorrow's critic. Today's ally becomes tomorrow's competitor. The same people who once swore devotion will justify betrayal when it benefits them, and they will convince themselves it was necessary. A ruler who forgets this truth ends up surrounded not by allies, but by opportunists pretending to be loyal. That is why Machiavelli advised princes to trust more in structures of power than in the promises of men. Power, unlike loyalty, is not emotional. It doesn't waver. It doesn't change sides. Power is loyal only to those who know how to maintain it. Every kingdom, every empire, every institution falls when it starts believing that loyalty will hold it together. It never does. What holds it together is control. Control of resources, of fear, of information, and of opportunity. In leadership, it is far better to be respected than to be loved. Love ties people to you emotionally, but emotion is volatile. Respect ties people to you strategically, and strategy is consistent. When they respect your authority, they fear to cross you. When they love you, they eventually test you. A leader who relies on love invites betrayal disguised as disappointment. But a leader who commands respect creates obedience that even resentment cannot break. Machiavelli's insight into human loyalty was cold but accurate. He observed that men change their allegiance as easily as they change their fortunes. Therefore, the wise ruler never feels shock when betrayed. He anticipates it. He prepares not by trusting harder, but by positioning himself so that betrayal cannot harm him. When you control what others depend on, their disloyalty becomes irrelevant. They may hate you in secret, but they cannot act on it. And yet, there is another layer to this truth. Power itself can create loyalty, not genuine but functional. When your presence radiates strength, when people sense that aligning with you brings protection and influence, they follow willingly. They may not love you, but they will defend you because your power shields them. That is how kingdoms survive and how modern empires, political, corporate, or social, are built. People follow strength, not sincerity. Even mercy must be calculated through this lens. If you forgive too freely, loyalty becomes cheap. People begin to believe they can fail you and still remain safe. But if you forgive selectively, if your approval feels rare, your followers will guard it like treasure. The scarcity of your favor creates its value. The fear of losing it creates loyalty stronger than affection ever could. So the leader who wishes to endure must stop chasing loyalty and start manufacturing necessity. People must not just want you, they must need you. They must see that your downfall threatens their survival, that your strength sustains their position. Then, even the disloyal will pretend loyalty, because pretending becomes safer than betrayal. This is the cruel beauty of Machiavellian leadership. The understanding that loyalty is not a virtue, but a transaction, and that transaction is renewed every day through the power you project, the fear you manage, and the advantage you provide. In a world of backstabbers, the most dangerous leaders are not those who swing their swords, but those who make others believe they never even owned one. Niccolò Machiavelli once wrote that the appearance of virtue is more useful than virtue itself, and nowhere is this more important than in mastering the art of disguised ruthlessness. Because the moment people suspect your cunning, they unite against you. But if they believe you are merely cautious, gentle, or even harmless, they open their secrets, lower their guard, and destroy themselves in your shadow. You see, most people equate ruthlessness with cruelty, with shouting, manipulation, or open aggression. But that is the way of fools. The true Machiavellian knows that the most effective strike is silent. The most destructive act is unseen. The wolf that survives the longest is not the one with the sharpest fangs, but the one that convinces the flock he is a sheep. That is the art of disguised ruthlessness. It is the mastery of appearing soft while being carved from iron beneath. Let's step into the psychology of this power. The world admires kindness. It rewards empathy, loyalty, and patience. But only when it believes those virtues come from sincerity. Once people suspect calculation behind your kindness, their admiration turns to fear, and fear turns to rebellion. Therefore, disguise is essential. The Machiavellian leader acts through duality. One face for the world, another face for the battlefield. When he forgives, it is not because his heart is merciful, but because he needs his enemy to sleep soundly. When he praises, it is not to uplift, but to distract. When he steps back, it is not surrender. It is the tightening of the spring before the strike. Disguised ruthlessness means mastering emotional camouflage. It means training your facial expressions to mirror calmness when your mind is calculating. It means responding to betrayal with silence rather than anger, because silence terrifies more than fury. It is understanding that reputation, not raw dominance, is what controls others. For when people believe you are incapable of cruelty, your cruelty becomes limitless. No one prepares for a blade they do not see coming. Think of a prince surrounded by corrupt ministers. If he purges them openly, others will fear him. Yes, but they will also plot his downfall. But if he acts subtly, letting one minister expose another, letting rumor destroy reputation, letting time dissolve alliances, he keeps his hands clean while his enemies fall like pawns on a board. That is disguised ruthlessness. Not the brutality of the tyrant, but the patience of the chess master who sacrifices pieces without emotion. To lead in a world of betrayal, you must abandon the need to be understood. The weak want to explain themselves, to justify every move. But justification reveals your intentions, and intention is the death of strategy. A leader who wants to win must be willing to let others misunderstand his motives. If they call you soft, let them. If they call you cold, let them. The less they understand, the less they can predict. Power thrives in mystery. There's also a moral aspect most people cannot comprehend. Being ruthlessly disguised doesn't mean you are evil. It means you are disciplined. It means you value survival over sympathy, long-term results over short-term approval. In Machiavelli's words, a man who wishes to act entirely up to his profession of virtue soon meets with what destroys him among so much that is evil. The Machiavellian does not seek to be loved or feared. He seeks to remain untouchable. In practice, this requires knowing when to appear forgiving and when to vanish. It means crafting an aura of peace, even while you position your pieces for war. You let others feel safe around you, because security breeds honesty, and honesty gives you leverage. The wise conceal their weapons in kindness. The foolish display their wrath and lose before the battle even begins. The art of disguised ruthlessness also demands timing. Strike too soon, and you expose your nature. Strike too late, and you lose the moment. Therefore, the Machiavellian leader waits. He studies patterns, watches how fear flows through a group, and chooses the moment when everyone least expects movement. Then, with one subtle action, a demotion, a rumor, a quiet shift of loyalty, he alters the entire hierarchy without ever raising his voice. You must understand, power is not taken, it is allowed, and people only allow it to those they don't perceive as a threat. So, disguise your fangs behind a gentle smile. Speak calmly when others shout. Be the eye of the storm while others rage around you. When your enemies think you lack aggression, they will never prepare defenses against it. Machiavelli would say, control the theater of perception. The world runs on appearances, not on truth. So act with the elegance of a saint and the precision of a strategist. Let your ruthlessness wear the mask of compassion. For the greatest leaders in history were not the ones who crushed their enemies in daylight, but those who made their enemies believe they were never in danger at all. And when they finally realize your strength, it's already too late. Conclusion: Machiavelli's final lesson: lead like a shadow, rule like a flame in the end. Niccolò Machiavelli's guide to leading in a world of backstabbers is not about cruelty. It is about survival through intelligence. The modern world may look civilized, polished, and progressive, but beneath its surface, human nature remains the same as in the courts of Renaissance Florence, driven by ambition, fear, envy, and self-interest. The faces have changed, but the game has not. To lead in such a world, you must not only understand power. You must master the theater of perception. The world doesn't reward the most moral man, but the most strategic one. It does not crown the kindest, but the most calculating. The true Machiavellian leader walks through chaos with calmness, hides his intent behind elegance, and strikes only when the outcome is certain. Machiavelli teaches us that virtue alone is not enough. It must be guided by wisdom, shielded by cunning, and directed by purpose. You must see through the illusions others create while crafting illusions of your own. You must learn to forgive strategically, trust selectively, and act decisively, for power, once lost to emotion or naivety, is rarely regained. Every betrayal, every deception, every manipulation you face is not a curse, but a classroom. Each teaches you the art of self-control, the importance of patience, and the necessity of appearing harmless while holding the power to destroy. That is the dark brilliance of Machiavellian leadership: to remain untouchable not by fear but by mastery. So, lead as the shadow leads the light, unseen, but always shaping it. Be the calm in conflict, the silence in noise, the wisdom behind the mask. Because in a world of backstabbers, the one who survives is not the one who fights the loudest, but the one who learns to rule from the shadows. With a mind sharper than any blade,